is SACHA?
At SACHA, we're with SNCCY. The acronym stands for Sexual Assault Center Hamilton and Area. And we changed our name about 10 years ago because sexual assault, even though we've been around for 40 years, and even though before that folks have been working on sexual violence for a really, really long time, it's still really hard to talk about. So when we have a name like SACHA, that means I can phone you up and just say like, hey, it's SACHA, can you give me a call back? Or hey, I'm just going to pop by SACHA.
In what ways does SACHA help the community?
Oh my goodness, so many ways. We are here to support survivors and to work to end sexual violence and oppression. So that's a lot of different things. When folks think of SACHA, they think of the work that we do one-on-one and in groups supporting survivors of sexual violence. They think of individual and group counseling. But even in counseling, we do so much more. It might look like helping somebody to find housing. It might look like advocating to somebody's workplace so they can get time off, or advocating to somebody's workplace so they can get different shifts than their abuser, stuff like that. Through our 24-hour support line, we accompany folks to the hospital and to the police station. A lot of folks don't know that anybody in the community can phone our 24-hour support line, regardless of what gender you are, regardless of if you're a survivor of sexual violence, if you're supporting someone, if you have a question, if you want to know how you could interrupt sexual violence that happened at a bar or a party, you can phone us up. And then through the Diverse Communities Outreach Program, we're working with women who are new to Canada or who are immigrants, not because those communities have higher rates of violence, but because they have different barriers to getting help. And then my job as public educator is really prevention, creating conversations about how we can end rape culture and create a community of consent in Hamilton.
In what ways could people help with SACHA?
Oh my goodness, we need so much help. So the first one that comes to mind but isn't always accessible for everybody is giving a donation. When somebody donates to SACHA, gives us money or free advertising, or donates stuff like fabric for the Multicultural Women's Sewing Circle, or craft supplies so we can use them in group or at Take Back the Night. When somebody donates money or things to SACHA, we use them really, really well. We're very careful with our money and the things that people donate. So if folks are able to, we really appreciate when they're able to donate. Folks can also donate their time. So help us at an event, sit on a committee, help run SACHA, help make decisions, or volunteer on our support line, which is a big commitment, but if folks are interested in volunteering at SACHA, they can get more information on our website. Then there's this other way that folks can help by just spreading the word. So like talking to folks about SACHA, putting up one of our promotional materials like a flyer on their fridge in case somebody comes over to their house and says, I've never heard of that before, or just letting folks know that we exist, because quite often folks in Hamilton don't know that SACHA's out there, and it's not necessarily that you personally will need our services, but someone that you know will for sure need our services. So just telling people about us, retweeting us, sharing articles that we're sharing on Facebook, doing that sort of thing is a big help and doesn't cost anything.
Is public speaking and education important for women's rights?
It's important because we really want to end violence. Violence against women, women's rights, gender equity are super important. And folks in Canada, lots of folks seem to have this idea that we've gotten there because women have the right to vote. But there's still a lot of work to be done to make women's lives more equitable in Canada. And to do that, we have to change our culture. And to change our culture, we have to have these really, really fundamental conversations where there's a lot of trust, because we're challenging deep-seated things that people have been taught. I think everybody at face value in Canada believes that everybody should be treated equally. It just changes when we come to example by example. People start finding reasons why, no, I actually think I should be treated a little more equally than other people. And if we want to really enact a culture change, we have to be having these conversations continually around what does that mean to fight for women's rights and fight for women's equality in Canada.
How can people be agents of change in their own communities?
The first thing that I suggest to folks who are interested in fighting for gender equity and ending oppression is to find the other peeps in your community who are also interested. because this work is hard. It can be very joyful, but it can also be very soul destroying. So the first thing I would do is gather your peeps and talk about how you're similar and talk about how you're different and talk about how to have conflict, because there's going to be conflict. And then the next thing I would do is treat social change as a daily activity. Something you do with gentleness and kindness, but something that you talk about, how can we change big things, look for changing huge systemic things, and also look for changing, how can we change daily things as well.
How can we inspire others to make change?
I think this is a two-pronged approach. The first one is not yelling at people, and the second is modeling the behavior that we want to see. So when we come at folks with, even though we think that we're right and we know what's best, if we come at folks with like, no, you're being super sexist, you have to stop, like this giant squid of anger, nobody wants to listen to that. Yes, we need to step in when sexist stuff is happening. If you see like somebody grabbing someone's bum in the hallway, there's lots of ways to interrupt that other than yelling. And I will make a case for there are times when yelling is important. And I don't want to, when I say yelling, I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's anger. Like, being rageful is important. Sexism and patriarchy and oppression are gross. But what folks respond to more is if you're doing the work every day, if you're modeling, if you're that person who steps in and says like, hey, did you want your bum to be grabbed? Or, hey, that's not cool, we don't do that at our school. If you model more what it looks like to end sexism every day, folks who want to end sexism will gravitate towards you, and folks who have questions about like, hey, I'm not sure about my behavior, they'll also gravitate towards you if you're modeling instead of telling or yelling.
This tin, it's the stuff that doesn't go anywhere else tin, and inside of it is $710.79, roughly, most likely more. And it is for you.
This is amazing. This is heavy with awesomeness. Oh!
And it's donated. $81 came from Westview, and more than half of that came from a class with 11 boys and 1 girl.
Wow! Mm-hmm. Thank you, Westview. You guys, thank you to I Am Women campaign for being such amazing, awesome young feminists. I really love working with you.
No problem.